the final one, if that's not your poison, last one. We do a lot of pre-production work for movie houses.
Awesome.
And our artwork isn't concept work. It's the artwork that the idea man comes to us.
Look who we're hanging with.
That would be me.
Look who we're hanging with.
Jason David Frank.
Boom shakalaka.
Please do not change channel.
Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back to the Hangin With Web Show. I'm GW Pomichter. Thank you so much for logging on and tuning in, clicking whatever links you had to get over here. But you know what? Let's make it easy. Hit subscribe and bang on the little bell button, and it'll go off on your phone, so you'll know every time we drop a new episode.
Ding.
We've got artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, creative minds of all kinds here sitting in the chair on the Hangin With Web Show. Right now we are at Comic-Con Revolution in West Palm Beach, Florida, and we're hanging with artist Sammy Castillo.
Hi.
Sammy, how are you?
Good, how
Thanks
are you?
for coming hanging with us today. Yeah, how's it going? How's the con?
Good, good. Today's busy. I think it's what, like 2:30, and it's the first time I've been able to step away from my booth to come and hang out with you guys for a
That's
little bit.
awesome. That's an awesome
It's
day.
busy, it's
That's
good.
right. So let's talk about your art.
Okay.
Okay, so
I paint pictures.
she paints pretty pictures.
Nah.
like Josh, you know,
No.
she paints pretty pictures.
Mine are way more sinister than
Way
that.
more sinister,
Yeah.
dark pretty pictures.
Dark, pretty pictures.
Oh,
yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
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 All right. So, how long? First of all, how long have you been painting? How long have you been an
So
artist?
I've been drawing and painting since I was a kid. I have a bit of a saga when it comes to my history, so you get a little bit of everything. And I actually went to college for video game design, and I worked for third-party companies that worked with games like BioShock, Resident Evil 5, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And at the time, I had no idea that I was contributing to those games because they weren't allowed to tell me. So I ended up buying my own game and going, wait a minute.
Write this bit of code. Move this around. And
Well, I did the textures.
Yeah.
I don't code. I can't
Okay,
code out
yeah.
of a paper bag. Like Dark Basic, it's Greek to me. Pong, wouldn't be able to do it.
There you
My
go.
ball always flew off. But I got tired of the game industry is a labor of love, and I have the attention span of a gnat. So I'm that dog that's like squirrel, and I can't work for something more than a few hours, and then I get really bored. So doing 40, 50 hours of textures and models didn't work for me. So I actually went into illustration and comic books, and that's where I met my unfortunately late husband and mentor at that point, Sammy Castillo. He was trained by Frank Frazetta, so my husband trained me.
Wow.
So for the last 10 years, before he passed.
That is one of the amazingly wonderful things about the arts community is I think we're one of the few professions out there where we still look for a mentor, and the mentor is still looking to pass it on
Yes,
to the
exactly.
next generation, the next group of artists.
Yeah,
which is
I
fantastic.
actually have my apprentice here.
Awesome.
He's actually my husband's last student, and he asked me to continue on. So he's actually at my booth selling while I'm talking to you.
That's fantastic.
He's been my apprentice for about 2 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's doing great. So in terms of what art I do, between the last 10 years of me and my husband, he was in the industry for 30 years total before he unfortunately passed. But I've been in the industry comic-wise 10 years. So we penciled Batman for 9 years, Toetags with George Romero, Green Arrow, Spawn, Spider-Man, Savage Dragon, Evil
that's
Ernie, Tales from the
amazing.
Crypt, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If that's not your poison and you are a fantasy gamer, we worked on various Dungeons & Dragons manuals and modules, Magic the Gathering, worked with Ultra Pro. If that's not your poison, we also did work on...
Do you sleep?
No.
Not ever.
I go to bed at 3 a.m. and wake up about 8 a.m.
Because, see the list, and she's got more.
I got
she's
more.
only on
I'm
the
on
third
this finger. I got
That's
one more
right.
finger.
Yeah.
We'll do the other two. If that's not your poison, then we actually are on all Strathmore artist paper books. We're on the Green Recycled Sketchbook, which is now the highest published sketchbook in the world of the last 10 years. And Tommy's been on it for those 10 years. And then I helped him with the 3 other covers that he did. And then the final one, if that's not your poison, last one, we do a lot of pre-production work for movie houses.
Awesome.
And our artwork isn't concept work. It's the artwork that the idea man comes to us and gets included in the pitch. So we're the ones that get the talent, we're the ones that get the money, we're the ones that get actors and talent signed on. And they basically give an actor the script, they give them a treatment, which is the script, the amount of money they are going to put into it, who they have planned to be around it, and then the artwork. So that's where our
here's
stuff
what it's going to
is.
look like. And
yeah,
that's
this is the feel we want. And then it goes into production and stuff like that. So our stuff is never seen by Joe Schmo sitting in the theater buying the art book.
Yeah.
But it's important, it's I think more important because we're the ones that get the money. We're the one that sets the tone of everything.
And then the idea, and then there's the visual idea,
right,
for the director, and then
for the
producers,
whoever,
all the funding people,
and it's usually,
and then I imagine also for the production artists who are going to do cells and things like that for storyboarding. They're looking at where you started, to figure out where they're going.
One of the coolest things was when they were in animation production, it was post-production for Batman vs. Superman, all of the lead concept artists came in and bought all of our Batman art, and we do remarks. So we do a sketch on RG Clays, and all of the concept artists were trying to outbuy the other. And so they took a photo, and where they do the actual animation and have all the board meetings with the actors and the producers and the director, literally there's like 12 of all of our prints. They took down all the other art and put all of our remark prints up. So as inspiration,
No,
so
that's
neat.
awesome.
Yeah, so
it is.
Batman sort of resembles our run on Batman a little bit.
That's actually kind of cool. What's awesome about that is that, it's a lot of fun as a creative artist when a fan will come to the table and say, hey, your art touched me in some way. It helped me through this or whatever. But it's in this community, it's an even greater feeling when another artist comes up and says, your art is what inspired me to do this. And it could be some of the stuff that's commercially known about there. Everybody knows about it, but it all started with that one piece that you did. And that's kind of cool.
And that's one of the reasons why it was such an honor to do the sketchbooks and everything. Because even still, my husband unfortunately is gone a year and a half, but even still his artwork is on the cover. It's been on the cover for almost 10 years, and I still get artists emailing me saying, every time they look at the book, they see that artwork, and it inspires them. And the illustration is actually my husband when he was a kid. When he started, he was 17, and then it's him, and he was 46. So when he was 17, he had a mullet because he was in the 80s. So he had a mullet and glasses.
Don't judge. It was the 80s.
It was the 80s.
We had ice cream colored clothing too, but don't judge.
I'm not allowed to judge. He'll come back and haunt me. And then it's surrounded full of artwork that he's accomplished in his career, from the very first gallery painting to Batman, to all of our accomplishments. And it's him as a kid, with all of these dreams, surrounded by the dreams that he actually accomplished.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's a piece. He always said he wanted that piece to inspire him, inspire others like previous sketchbooks inspired him.
That's amazing. That is incredible. Now, you the whole list of so many different mediums, so many different forms of art.
Pretty much, if it makes a mark, I draw it.
What is your favorite medium to work in?
My favorite medium is actually watercolor.
Watercolor?
Because it's super unpredictable. It's super versatile. So if you can't master it because it does its own thing. You put water and pigment and it goes wherever.
And it's thin and it just moves.
You can be really tight and controlled with it, but I'm a very spontaneous person, and I like a lot of movement because I'm very animated and jittery because I think I drink too much coffee, and or maybe not enough.
Look at my world,
It's like a giant pot of coffee is next to my studio, and so I like using it because you can get so much out of it.
Do you find that when you're painting, when you start a piece, when you start to add the color, and when you start to, like watercolor is a good example, you start to add that, it's the accident that inspires you for the next thing you're doing?
Actually,
or the little bit that the bleed through, or something that the water does?
The watercolor inspires a lot. Like I was just painting, a Gundam for a fan as a commission, and he had a Gundam's a robot, if you're not familiar. And he had Some people know, some people don't.
It's the internet.
It's the internet.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Look it up.
So I was painting a Gundam, and the guy had like red shoes for the feet were red, and I didn't let it dry all the way. And when I was doing the ground wash, it bled into it, and it reminded me of the reflection of red through water.
So like the wet floor.
So like a wet ground.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was because I didn't paint the background in, I did a whole like rain scene where the city behind it is all like misty and it's raining and he's holding his sword and it's raining on him. And that all came from the fact that I was just not being patient and it just bled into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's the way the artist mind
happy
works.
accidents. That's one of the
accidents.
reasons why we're such big proponents of traditional media. I was trained digitally in school. I didn't know traditional media except for what I dabbled in until my husband trained me, and he was a sole traditional artist. And like if it drew and made a mark, that's what we used. And one of the reasons why I push traditional now is because as much as and as easy as Photoshop and all those programs are, it's still math behind it, whether you click and drag the gradient tool.
And everything is so precise.
Yes, and what people don't realize is it doesn't matter who is at the brush or who is at the computer. If you click and drag and I click and drag and it's the same colors, it's gonna look exactly the same. But if I teach you how to do a gradient and then I do a gradient, a fade into another color, it's gonna look completely different because we're two completely different people. I'm impatient and know how to use the pigment much better than you because I had just trained you. But you would do it differently as well because your body is bigger, you move differently. If you had damage to your shoulder at some point
those are
in
all
life,
things that are gonna
that would all affect it. Yeah. So your personality comes out more in a traditional medium, and it's one of the reasons why we are so
many
stapled.
of our artists out there will tell it they love to work. They love to start art in a traditional medium,
and then they finish it digitally,
and then they'll take it and they'll shoot it, and then and then they'll work on some of the fine tuning, the things you can do with digital now. But they want the spontaneity of that original work.
Yeah, but you can't get it digitally. You can't get a happy accident. One of my favorite jokers that my husband did, we live stream on Twitch, and he was splattering black ink, and he threw the brush, and it came out of his hand and smacked the Joker right in the head, and it created a big blood splat in the middle of his head, so it looked like a bullet hole. And it dripped down his face, and he's like, I'm done. And he put the brush down, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it completed, it made it perfect.
That's
awesome. You can't do that digitally. And the reason digital is such a mainstream thing is because, one, you don't get trained like an old school illustrator anymore. I got trained like an illustrator from the 40s and 50s because that's how he was trained. And it's repetitiveness. I have drawn thousands upon thousands of 30-second skulls with a single point light source. I can't even count. But you asked me to draw a skull and I could do it in 30 seconds, whereas other people would need reference. So the thing is that people don't use traditional medium because it's not taught like it used to be. It's not as ingrained because it's not the only method. So they don't become as quick. I could do a full painting in 30, 40 minutes.
I think, and we tell, especially our new artists this, when you're learning your craft.
Yeah.
Use the tools as tools,
Correct.
not as crutches.
Yes.
Digital can be a great enhancement to maybe a traditional piece that you've already done or you've already had, but you want that spontaneous moment, and you want it to appear in the image. And then if you want to go back later and digitize some things or whatever, it's a tool, not a crutch. It's not the only paintbrush, it's one of your paintbrushes.
That's one of the things we always say is, it's your yellow crayon. Digital is just one of the crayons that you could paint with.
But use the whole box.
But use the whole box of color. Don't just paint with, just use your yellow crayon.
That's amazing.
Learn all of the colors of the spectrum.
Awesome, that's fantastic. Guys, we have been hanging with artist Sammy Castillo. We are at Comic-Con Revolution. We want to thank our partners and friends, Something Unique Magazine out of St. Louis, Famous Faces and Funny, Space Coast Comics, J. Bauer Art for all the great pieces that are on our walls here, Celestial Healing, Krypton Radio, CBS'sRadio.com, Foxwood Wine Company, and Off the Chain Radio with author Yvonne Mason. These are the people who share these videos all over the World Wide Web. We want you to become one of them. Share these artists, share these creatives, all on your Facebook feeds, Twitter feeds, Instagram, all the other places that I don't even know that exist yet, but I'm sure they're building them right now.
Yeah, they're all over.
They're all over. Share those things. Thank you, Sammy, for hanging out with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next. Thank you.
You're welcome.